Hi everyone, welcome to Thought for the Day from Barclay Viewforth Church. My name is Elaine and I'm the Pastoral Associate here. Today's thought, it comes because the word keeps cropping up, and it's the word change. We've heard a lot about change recently, but even in everyday life, things change around us. Traffic lights change, clocks change. Even the weather changes regularly in Scotland, often throughout the day. We've had to change the way we do our shopping. Or we now have to meet our friends online for coffee and chat. We've changed the way we celebrate birthdays, although I dare say we will make up for it later on. But as individuals, we're called to change. We have to change. And sometimes we don't cope with change very well. And whenever something new comes along, I like to pause and reflect on what Jesus told his disciples and the crowd gathered in Matthew 18. He says, "He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, 'Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me.'" In many ways, that gives us permission to be childlike. So how does a church change? How does the church adapt going forward? Our minister and Kirk session will be having lots of discussion in the coming weeks and months as to what changes we have to make. We've already seen online that we've been joined by lots of different people who wouldn't normally come here on a Sunday. But there's something about online church that's appealing to them. And we can only hope that the message of God's love, of Jesus' death and resurrection, is reaching more people and helping more people to understand and to know God. Whatever happens to our church locally or nationally in the future, we shouldn't be afraid. God can use this time for good for everyone. I was having a chat with a friend last week, and we were talking about change and how it affects us. And I had the picture of someone who has perhaps been shipwrecked and they are clinging to a lifebelt in the open sea. And they may have been clinging there for ages, holding on tight because they knew the lifebelt would keep them afloat. So much so that when a lifeboat comes alongside to rescue them eventually, they are very fearful about letting go. They cling on and they don't want to let go because it's what they know. But actually, they need to trust the hands that are reaching out to rescue them. There's fear of the unknown. Will those hands hold me? Will they support me? Will they keep me out of the sea? There's a what if? Will I be okay? In the end, they do let go, and all is well. When we face change, we do have to have courage. The courage to let go of what we know and trust that the change will lead to something better. Corrie ten Boom, the author of The Hiding Place and a number of other books, puts it like this. She says, "Hold everything in your hands lightly. Otherwise it hurts when God pries your fingers open." God wants to effect change in our lives. Margaret Mead, the American anthropologist, wrote this, and it's appropriate as appropriate now as it was last century, particularly in light of recent weeks and all the mass protests we've seen on the Black Lives Matter. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Let's hope that these mass protests are a change for good. God is calling us to be a committed people who can change the world, who can help change other people's lives. If we think about what we have as Christians, of the lives we have, of the hopes we have. Now, I'm not saying that we are any less fearful, because there are days where I'm terrified about what the future might hold. But I can commit it to prayer. I have that trust in God that all will be well. Change starts often in a very small way, and it starts with ourselves. And we have to think about how we want to change before we can even ask others to change. We might need to change our thoughts, our words, our actions. But we can embrace change, and we can be the change that God wants us to be. So the question is this for today. What is it in our lives that we're holding on to? What do we need to let go of so that we can move on to something better? What's God saying to you about all of this? I hope and pray that we can all examine ourselves, look deeply to see ourselves as God sees us. And if we can do that, then we will have the strength to embrace any change. Don't be afraid, don't worry. God's got this. Have a good day, everyone.